Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining me today. Jody here from Workamper News, and today I'm going to be answering your questions about the work camping and RV lifestyle. Really looking forward to digging in and giving you guys a lot of good information today. So I'm with Workamper News. Workamper News is the creator of the term work camping back in 1987. My family has been operating Workamper News since 2005. And so I've had many years of helping work campers and employers connect with each other and make the most of this awesome lifestyle called work camping. I myself have been an RVer for, like 8 or 9 years now. My husband and I really enjoy the lifestyle. We've had a fifth wheel to a Class C RV, and now we're in a travel trailer as we're only just part-time RVing anymore, but we were full-time for a while. So we've lived the lifestyle and understand it and are just really passionate about what we do here at Workamper News. If you're not familiar with us, maybe you found us maybe just in some other work camping Facebook group, workamper.com is our online home. Let me just go ahead and flip forward here. So Workamper News, workamper.com, we've been connecting employers and work campers for the longest, and we have the largest variety of resources and information to help you guys be successful at this lifestyle. So if you haven't gone on to workamper.com and become a member, please do so. We are a yearly membership organization. We are fully supported by our work camper members and our employer members. So we're working just for you guys. We don't have commercial advertising. We're not selling your information to make money, nothing like that. So you guys keep us going and keep us providing more content, more jobs, and more things to help you get going in this lifestyle. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to do kind of our housekeeping. We are recording this live. So those of you who are live on the webinar with us today, thanks for joining us live. We have most questions that'll fill up the time submitted ahead of time. Typically, we go about an hour. As you guys will see here, I tend to give you guys nice long answers to your questions. So we'll likely go about an hour or so just with the questions that are submitted. But those of you who are live with us, feel free to go ahead and chat in or submit any questions in. If I do hear from you guys, I'll be sure to say that aloud here during the webinar. Yeah, I'll go through the previously submitted questions and get those answered for y'all. We are recording this today, so I'll have the recording of this webinar available in the media library at workamper.com, and we have a YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube/Workamper, that's our YouTube channel. I put these kinds of videos on there as well as many other different types of videos on our YouTube channel. So, all right, that's our webinar. Oh, one more thing I want to point out to you guys, those of you who are live with us. If you're on a tablet or a smartphone, you can swipe on your screen to go between my PowerPoint slides and my talking face here. So if you're on a desktop or laptop computer, you likely have your two screens and see both already anyway. So, all right, that's enough about the live webinar setup, but thanks to those of you who are live. If you're watching the recording, we appreciate you watching the recording. All right, so I introduced workamper.com a little bit to you guys, and we'll click around to answer some of your questions. I will be showing off some of the different resources that we have available. So, but this isn't just going to be a commercial about workamper.com, I promise. We'll give you lots of good, hard and fast information. All right, so let's dig in here. Get our PowerPoint slides cranking. Okay. So of course, since many of you guys that registered and are interested in watching this are, brand new to the work camping lifestyle, you're just researching it, haven't got started yet, etc. So let's just talk a little bit about what kind of jobs are out there, are available. Sometimes we can get in our mind like an idea of what work camping is, but it's really more broad than what a lot of people consider work camping to be. So to us, like I said, we created and trademarked the term back in 1987. Work camping is doing any kind of part-time or full-time work while living in an RV. It's just that simple. It's not working a specific business type or a specific job or working for a specific compensation. It's really a lot more open-ended than that. So if you're sleeping in an RV and doing some kind of work, you are a work camper. Now, most positions are going to be on location, in-person type jobs. There are a few entities that offer remote, work anywhere type of jobs. That's not really heavily advertised specifically to the work camping community at this time. There are some big websites, if you just Google work at home jobs, you'll get connected Flex Jobs and like workremotely.co or something. There's a few big websites out there that already have those types of jobs in one, place for you to check them out at. So if you're looking for, working on your computer, internet, whatever, wherever you are, there are other resources more so for that. You won't see that very often amongst the employers that are recruiting for work campers. So with work camping jobs, most often you're going to see campgrounds, RV parks, whether that be small mom and pops, bigger commercial entities with multiple locations. It might be county parks, state parks, campgrounds operated by concessionaires that are on like federal lands, Army Corps of Engineers, rec areas and campgrounds. So even in the, campground category, there's a wide variety of options there. So that's what you're going to see most often, but there are jobs at amusement parks, fish and wildlife service properties like fish hatcheries, lighthouses, historical societies, nonprofit organizations like children's summer camps or wildlife refuges, sanctuaries. Let's see what else. Travel centers. The sugar beet harvest is a big opportunity that work campers like. There are a couple. There's a Express Employment. They hire a lot of work campers to work the beet receiving stations for the sugar beet harvest. So that's a fall-time gig. There are a few fulfillment like warehouse centers that hire work campers. Let's see, what else can I think of off the top of my head? Some breweries and wineries. I mentioned amusement parks. There's really a big variety, guys. And another resource that would be really good to check out, especially if you're kind of, just digging into this. Let me pop over to my internet browser here. Okay, so this is workamper.com. This is our main online home, but I want to show you guys this website. So this is workampershow.com. Now we do a weekly podcast. We are the only podcast for work camping that is regularly making content. We've been doing this now since 2019, so we're at 205 episodes and still going. So each podcast episode is either an interview with a work camper, an RVer, or an employer that's offering work camping jobs. So here in the podcast, fairly recently, back in November, so episode 200, myself and my husband Luke, which he works, so Workamper News is me and my husband Luke, and then 3 super awesome gals that keep this show running. So Luke and I recorded this podcast episode where we talked about 200 different work camping positions. We kind of did it by like business type and then talked about the different jobs that would be done for that business type. And that didn't even hit all of them, you guys. There's such a wide variety out there, so don't think, oh, I just have to work in a campground to be a work camper. That's not the case. You totally can if that's what you want to do. Awesome. But understand, there's retail and restaurants and tour companies out there. Like you can take your hobbies and things that you really like to do and turn that into, a work camping opportunity. If you love kayaking or you love driving, you could drive tour buses somewhere. If you are a horse person, there are a few opportunities that have horses, or it's an equestrian campground. There are a lot of private property owners, ranch owners now hiring work campers to just help out on their property with maybe farm animals or crops farming, that kind of farming, not the animal farming, the, vegetation farming. So just all kinds of different stuff that's out there, you guys. So keep your mind open. Definitely become a member at workamper.com so you can start seeing all the job listings. You're going to find more opportunities listed with us than all the other resources added together. So you definitely want to be sure to become a member so you can be connected and be seeing all the different stuff that's going to come through. So check out this podcast episode. It runs probably at least an hour or more, talking about all the different work camping jobs that are out there. If you are someone who listens to podcasts via an app like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or whatever, we're there too. So just go to the search section of your podcast app, search Workamper Show. We'll come up, you'll be able to subscribe and look at all the different episodes. We do a new episode every Tuesday, so definitely dive in. This is another good avenue for hearing stories from work campers and RVers that are just getting started or have been doing this for a long, long time. So you're going to learn a lot from their stories and information that they share, in their interviews as well. So, all right, so I just wanted to point that out because that's a good resource for getting introduced to all of the different types of opportunities that are out there. Okay, so where are these jobs? Like I said, most of them are going to be an on-location job. And pretty much in the contiguous US, there are absolutely jobs in Alaska, lots of Workamper jobs in Alaska, but mostly it's going to be in that lower 48. Don't think I've seen any advertised for Hawaii. So sorry for those who are in Hawaii there may be opportunities available, but they're not advertised. So mostly in the US, and we'll talk a little bit about Canada coming up in one of our questions later. How long are the jobs? It's going to vary. So typically, especially if you are looking at working in for a business that's in the outdoor hospitality industry, you're going to see kind of two main seasons. So summer season is going to be April, May through September, October, and then the fall, winter would be the opposite of that. So September, October through March, April timing. So you're going to see a lot of positions advertised for that time frame. There are shorter term opportunities and there are longer term opportunities. Certainly even some of the positions that are advertised for maybe a shorter period of time, if you did want to stay, oftentimes the employer would totally welcome that. If they're open year round and you wanted to stay year round, even if they weren't advertising for that long term type thing, they'd probably be glad to have you and not have to have the employee turnover. The shortest work camping opportunity I've seen is like 4 days or maybe like an event. There's like the Texas Renaissance Festival that hires work campers, so that can be shorter term. The Houston Rodeo looks for help. That's a shorter term gig. Some, especially like in the volunteer realm, if you're looking to maybe do a month here, a month there, there's going to be a little more flexibility if you can just work in trade for an RV site, or maybe, like I said, state parks, county parks, more like kind of governmental stuff. They may have more flexibility in doing a shorter term type thing than the for-profit businesses. So yeah, and I don't know, it's tough. Everybody travels differently. I know a lot of times folks who are just considering RVing or getting into RVing think they want to hop around a lot and be moving every week or every other week, but that gets pretty tiring. And that may be right for you, and some folks may really enjoy that, but personally, and what I've heard from others, you start out that way thinking you want to bing, 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 and see all the stuff and do all the stuff, but moving your RV all the time and finding different sites, finding different jobs and hopping around and hooking up and tearing down and hooking up and tearing down, and it gets kind of tiring. And so it's actually nice to have a work camping job that is maybe 3 or 6 months long. You really get to spend time in an area, and hopefully it's an area you've kind of been wanting to enjoy or explore, or maybe it's close to friends or family or something like that. And so you get to be there for a good amount of time. You get to try out different places to eat. You get to see all the museums instead of just 1 or 2, or do all the hiking trails instead of over a period of time, instead of hiking yourself to death within a week to see all the things. So it's a really great way to immerse yourself in all these little communities around the country, and giving yourself a little breathing room and a little time to see these places is it's just nice. That's why we've had that kind of seasonality for such a long period of time. because it is really a benefit to the work camper and the employer as well that's trying to run their operation and keep things running smoothly. Let me point out there are some positions that you moving around is like part of the job. So there's an entity called Southern Cross, and they hire work campers to walk the gas lines and like check them for stuff. I'm not exactly sure. They need to do a job on with us so I can learn more about that. But so that does require you to go to different locations, to do the assessment of the pipelines and stuff like that. So that one you are going to be moving around a bit more. There's a couple entities, AGS and Southeast Publications. They are the companies that make, like when you go and check in at a campground and they give you the little printed out campground map, and it's maybe got ads for like local businesses and stuff. So you as the work camper go to that campground and stay at that campground, and then you go around the local businesses and sell the advertising for the campground maps and some website stuff and other things. So that's a sales position that takes you around to different places. So there are some positions where moving is part of the gig. So not everything is going to be a stationary job, but the majority are. Okay, what is the pay? That's going to vary. And we will get a little more specific into that later on in one of the questions. But with work camping jobs, typically you're going to see working so many hours in trade for an RV site, maybe some other non-monetary perks like electric usage, internet, discounts on propane or provided propane, maybe discounts on laundry or use of laundry facilities, uniforms, meals, different stuff like that. There are some positions where you work so many hours a week in trade for your RV site, and then any hours worked over that, you're paid an hourly wage for. Some positions are, we're giving you your RV site and we're going to pay you for every hour worked. Some jobs are, we're going to pay you a salary and give you some other perks. Some positions will include bonuses. Some positions are tips. You may have a base wage and then tips. Some positions you are working as an independent contractor, and so maybe you're working for a certain contracted lump sum. So again, it can really vary, you guys. So that's why it's important for you as a work camper to consider and assessing what your needs and wants are. So it's needs and wants of like the locations you want to be in, the types of jobs you are interested in doing, ones that you would never do, or certain duties that you're like, I'm never going to do X, Y, Z. And then also your budget monetary needs. Do you have some supplemental income so you don't necessarily need to be working for wages, or I've got a lot of bills to pay, I got to have wages, I got to have my RV site provided. So you need to know what your what your needs are to make sure that you are finding the positions that are going to meet those needs. So that way you're covered and you're good to go. You're not stressing out about that kind of stuff. So, all right, we'll get more into compensation and pay and taxation and that kind of stuff later. Another question is, what is a good first work camping job? That's going to vary. It's really individualistic. Obviously, someone who is like, I'm really not a big fan of talking to people, they shouldn't be taking a customer service job where all they're doing all day is dealing with people. And if you're someone who's like, I'm just really not a very physical person, I'm not good at bending and stooping and picking things up, swinging hammers, I'm just not capable of that kind of thing. Well, you're not going to take like a maintenance position or something like that. So it's really going to vary. One thing you could consider, as a new work camper, it might be good to work for an employer that hires more than just a few work campers. So that way you're not the only ones. And again, this isn't a strict rule. This is kind of just something to ponder. Just, you know yourselves. Anyway, if you go to work for an employer that hires multiple work campers, then you're going to have more of a team environment and be able to kind of learn from their experience and work with their experience, and learn from them as well, just like on a personal level. Talk to them about how their lifestyle's been going, what other jobs they've done, what went well at those jobs, what didn't go well at those jobs, what should I look for, what questions should I ask, you know, all that kind of experience that those fellow work campers are going to have. You'll have time to interact and, you know, hear those tales of excitements and woes and stuff like that. So as a new work camper, it might behoove you to take those types of opportunities where you will be in a bigger work camper community. But if you're someone who's, you know, if that doesn't sound like your jam, then go be, you know, the only camp host at a remote campground in the forest, and that will be just fine. So it's hard to say what is a good first work camping job because everybody's different. All right, you guys, let's keep going here. Okay. Are there work camping jobs that do not include physical labor or would be okay for someone who's disabled? And definitely, absolutely. So again, this is just comes back to the work camper getting enough information out of the employer to fully understand what the job position entails, duties, expectations, etc. And knowing yourself and knowing whether, you know, that's going to work for you or not. Also, there are employers who will make accommodations and already have made accommodations for folks. It's, you know, it's going to kind of depend on what the disability is. But yes, there are like non-physical labor jobs would be like working in a campground office. You're more likely just going to be kind of behind a desk. You might be standing or sitting, so you'll want to clarify. If it's a really busy park or area, you might need to be on your feet more, where if it's maybe a smaller place, less heavily trafficked, or maybe it's more of a, it's a RV resort with like long-term tenants, not a, you know, camping nightly, big weekends, low weekdays, you know, kind of turnover place. A more long-term resident area will be a little more low-key, unless you're at one of those big resorts that have like activities and all this stuff going on. I mean, some of those RV resorts, especially in the South, are like little towns, and there's restaurants and pools and tennis courts and, you know, big concert halls and just all kinds of stuff. I think they're really cool. But anyway, so again, just kind of considering the business type as well and the flow of business. But yes, there are certainly like administrative positions where you'd be more behind the scenes or not having to be on your feet as much. Definitely. And even some of the, like the position we talked about before, like working AGS or Southeast Publications, that's going to be more just talking, communicating with people. You're not, you know, painting and digging and raking or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that kind of stuff. So yeah, absolutely. Even at like amusement parks and stuff, there's going to be, you know, administrative needs from time to time that you could handle. So definitely there are positions that, you know, don't necessarily have to be very physical. Again, you just want to be upfront with your employer when you're communicating with them about the job, to find out all the details and to make sure they understand, you know, what your capabilities are. So that way, you know, you both can then decide if it's going to be a good match or not. All right, next up. Okay, are there jobs for solos? Yes, absolutely. There is a common misconception that there are less jobs available for solos, or very few jobs for solos. It's so hard to find jobs for solos. I think that folks who are just maybe playing around in some Facebook groups or looking at a, you know, free website they found on the internet or something, if you are strictly just looking at those kind of resources, that you are going to see more so just the couples and mostly just the campgrounds utilizing those other resources. In our system at workamper.com, typically 75 to 80% of the employers are considering solos. And we know many solo work campers who have no trouble finding positions, and they are turning away employers because they're utilizing the tools available to them to be, marketing themselves to employers, and they're getting contacted by employers because of their resume, because of their situations wanted at, etc., and turning away gigs. Now, the difficulty of finding a job, there can be difficulty finding a job. Like I'm not saying it's always going to be like, there are more jobs now than there are Workampers, but I know you guys are going to have like specifics that you want fulfilled, and you may not be able to find that perfect all the things job in the exact place you want to be. There's always been more difficulty finding like a fall winter position in an ideal location, especially if you are looking for all hours paid wages and an RV site as well. So if you have that kind of budgetary restriction, you need to be constantly working and watching job listings and stuff to make sure you are opening yourself up to the most opportunities and not going to miss out on one that hopefully comes through and is right for you. So there is a little bit of work involved. If you're a solo, that really shouldn't, it might be a little harder, but not a lot. And the person that did submit this question has been a Workamper for a while, and based on your resume, you had back-to-back jobs listed in your resume. So I was kind of surprised to see that this person said they felt it was harder for solos to find jobs, because based on the work history, it didn't look like it. And this person too, you haven't ran any work wanted, situations wanted ads yet. That's another way to put yourself out there to get connected with employers. So there are definitely things you can do, like I said, to kind of keep hustling and keep the flow going. But yes, especially if you look outside of the campground and RV park world, that's going to open the door as well for more opportunities for solos. A lot of campgrounds and RV parks more specifically look for couples because they're giving up an RV site for the Workampers. And that's an RV site that they could have in their pool and be making money off of. So if they can give up 3 sites to get 6 Workampers versus 6 sites to get 6 Workampers, like business-wise, you can see how that would make sense for them. Now, there are some cons to hiring couples, because if you hire a couple and one of them is a dud and one of them is awesome, is that employer gonna be okay holding on to the dud to keep the good one, or do they need to let the dud go? And if they let the dud go, then the other one, the good one, goes too, so you can lose 2 employees in one shot like that, instead of just 1 employee being lost, or for whatever reason. Sometimes Workampers have to leave because of medical reasons, family reasons, whatever. So it's a gamble, whether there's pros and cons to both hiring couples versus hiring solos. But again, if you're looking at an entity that doesn't have a limited number of RV sites, then that's going to open the door. And like I said, typically about 80% of employers consider solos. If there are 2 of us in the RV, can just one of us work a job? Yes. You basically would be advertising yourself as a solo Workamper, but you would want to make sure to include, like on your resume and in your communications with the employer, like I'm not the only human in my RV. There's going to be someone with me, whether it is a partner or maybe you have a kid or multiple kids, or maybe if your grandson or granddaughter or a cousin's going to be with you for all summer long. They're not with you all the time, just maybe for a few months, and then they're going to go. Like, those are kinds of things the employer needs to know if there are going to be more than 1 human in your RV, just to make them aware of that, so there are no surprises. But yes, you can apply for positions as a solo and say, hey, there's going to be another human in the RV with me. Again, just as long as the employer knows ahead of time, all should be well. Okay, whoops. Okay, here's the fun part. How do I find a job? Is there a way to search for jobs by region and by season? All right, so the best way to do this is for me to show you guys. So let me pop back over to my internet browser. Okay. All right. So with finding a job, there's, I don't know where to start. So I recorded a video, it's easily, I don't know, 90 minutes long, the 12 steps to finding a work camping job. So if you want to watch that, it is in the media library at workamper.com. So this is an article that's open on our website, how to find jobs, and it's like 11 or 12 steps, I think. So anyway, so I basically took this article and like went into very thorough detail and recorded a video about it. So you can find that video in the media library at workamper.com if you're a member. I also have it on our YouTube channel. So if you search how to find a Workamper job, it'll likely come up and you can watch it on the YouTubes. So check that out. It's going to go into a lot more detail than I'll go into right now. But when you basically, like I said, we're going to go through, we're going to determine what our wants and needs are. You're going to know, when you're going to want to start a job, got to figure that out. Then you're going to become a member of workamper.com. If you want to start perusing some other stuff on the internet, do that too. So you're going to want to start reviewing the different opportunities that are being posted, but you're also going to want to get your resume together, get a situations wanted ad going, and putting yourself out there as well. So when you go to workamper.com, you're going to join as a member. We do have a free 30-day trial if you want to try out our diamond level membership. But like I said, we are a yearly membership organization. Our diamond level membership is the best one, especially for new work campers. It's $47 for 1 year. So if you just don't go out to eat one night in the whole year, you'll have your membership fee covered for the year. It's really not too much. So we're going to dig in, become a diamond member. And once you are a diamond member, you're going to get logged in, and the dashboard page is kind of the main jumping off point for accessing the different tools of your membership. And with us at Workamper, we have our hotline jobs page, and we have our online magazine archive. Many of you maybe have seen issues of Workamper news over the year. Maybe somebody gave you one that you knew and kind of introduced you to work camping. But Workamper News started as a printed and mailed publication because it was pre-internet. So for 37 years, we published a bi-monthly newsletter and then eventually a magazine. But it got a little confusing because we have our online magazine and we have our hotline system. So there's two main places to look for jobs, and that just becoming cumbersome. So we are discontinuing the magazine. The November-December 2022 issue is our last new issue we're going to make, and we're putting our focus into our hotline system because as you guys will see, it's much more powerful and works better for you guys. And we are right now working on a complete redesign of workamper.com. Luke and I are digging in, and we're enhancing all of the tools, refreshing all the tools, and creating some new stuff. And so sometime in 2023, we're going to launch that, and it's going to be muy bueno, very exciting. Okay, so online magazine archive here. This is the largest archive of work camping jobs anywhere. Each issue of the magazine has job listings organized by state. So a lot of our employer members are with us for years and years and years and years and years. So even if you guys are, perusing an older issue and you're, reading a job listing and you're like, oh my gosh, this sounds like pretty perfect for me, don't hesitate to reach out to that employer. They're likely, if they're still in business, they're likely still hiring work campers. So you can go through here. Obviously, there's lots of great articles and information as well, but each of these issues has hundreds of job listings organized by state. So definitely be perusing the magazines. But then here's our hotline jobs page. And this is where you'll find the newest job listings from the last 14 days. So there's no question about how old the job listing is. Was it posted a year ago or was it posted yesterday? You're going to know, and you're going to know it was within the last 2 weeks. So up at the top of the page here, we have the most robust search capabilities for maneuvering through the different job listings. So you can search, of course, on whatever states you're interested in working in. If you want to have an RV site available, you can check that. If you don't have an RV and you need housing provided, you can search to just view employers that provide other housing. if you need all hours paid, other compensation, or if you just want to work and trade for an RV site, you don't want to worry about monetary compensation, you can search just on that. Search on when you want to start. So if you want to start in April, or maybe you want to start in May, if you want to start, I'm free right now, let's get this party going, you can search on immediately. And then this is a big one too, solos considered. So those who are solos, be sure to check that box to just look at the job listings where the employer indicated that solos are considered. So as you can see, there are 92 listings from the last team days, and we were even off on Monday and didn't take job listings that day. So here's what a job listing looks like. You'll see published date and some drop-down information here. We ask every employer this information. That's why we can provide the awesome search tools for you guys. You'll have, their job listing, which may give you enough information, may not give you enough information. And then you'll also see with ours, view Workamper experience postings. So our Workamper experience section is a review section where Workampers can go in and say what their experience was like working for that specific employer. We all love to read reviews, whether we're buying a little trinket or going out to eat or seeing a movie, whatever, we have to see what other people said about it. So we are providing that for you guys. The Workamper Experiences tool has been compiling reviews since 2007. So there's a lot of data in there, but there's really not enough. There really could be more. You won't see these links on every job ad like you're seeing here as we're scrolling, but if there are postings, there will be a link there. So here's like Caliam. Yeah, so there will be some additional links with our job listings taking you to help to get you more information on those different jobs. So when you do find an employer that you're interested in working for, then you want to follow the instructions in the ad to begin the application process, the communication process, etc. A lot of employers will want a resume. Not every employer is going to require you to have a resume that you send to them, but a lot of them like to see that. So you'll begin the communication process. You'll likely schedule an interview. If an employer isn't willing to interview you, that might be something you're not comfortable with. Like I said, you will want to develop your own list of questions that you want to make sure you have the answers for to help you determine if that position is going to be right for you or not, okay? So I guess whether it's back and forth emails or hopefully you're going to do some kind of interview, whether it's a phone call, like a webcam interview over the internet, or maybe you can even meet in person. It's going to, depend on where you are and where they are, but you definitely want to make sure you're going to get your questions answered. And we'll talk more about that in a later question as well. So you'll go through, the interview process. You want to do your due diligence, communicating, reaching out to work campers that have worked for that employer before to see what their experience was like. And you can do that in our Workamper Experiences tool. We also have a Praise Your Employer tool where a work camper who had a positive experience can go and award a star for that employer that they worked for. If you click on the stars, okay, and this one's hidden. So when a work camper awards a star, they have the option to show their email address or not. If the email address was showing, then obviously I could send an email to that work camper and say, hey, I see you worked for Caliam in Mesa. What was your experience like? Would you mind telling me about it? So that's another way to connect with work campers who worked there. We also have a member map tool where you could search a specific city, state location, zoom in to see if there are any work campers in that location. Contact that work camper if they have their information available and reach out to them and see if they would share with you about what their experience was like. You'll also want to, read any Google reviews, Facebook reviews, TripAdvisor. It's going to depend on the business type where you'll find reviews about that business, but you'll want to read customer reviews as well. And just try to learn as much as you can about that employer to help you with your decision making on if it's going to be right for you or not. And so if you do decide, that you want to continue moving forward with that employer, then it's time to ask for a work agreement, which we'll talk about in a later question. And then, once that's organized and all parties are agreed, then, you're good to go. And so many employers will hire in advance. Like we have had employers that are looking for Workampers summer 2023. They began recruiting last September, October, November. And then now here as we come up into January, February, it's really going to kick into high gear. So once you're 6 months out from wanting to start a Workamping job, that's when it's time to get hot and heavy into this job finding process, okay? You can find things more immediately. There are always, employers recruiting last minute, or they had hired people fell through, so they've got holes to fill now. So if you are looking for something starting in the next month or the next week, it's not impossible to find a position, but you may have to maybe take a position that's not checking all the boxes, just most of the boxes, kind of thing. So, and let's get back into, so as a Workamper, you're going to be reviewing the different opportunities that are out there, of course, but you also want to be advertising yourself to employers. We have employers that never advertise their jobs. All they do is search our resume database to find all of their Workampers. So we definitely recommend that you guys get in to our resume builder and create a resume. And then we also have what's called a situation wanted ad that you can run too. Now, with workamper.com, our resumes and work wanted ads are only available to our invested employer gold members. So we are not putting your resume on the open internet. It cannot be found by any pirate, spammer, hacker clicking around in Facebook or these other open to the web, completely free websites, etc. So I do caution you about posting on open websites. Just be cautious about what you're sharing out there. I know there are spammers out there in the Workamper pool because they've tried to come into our system before and connect to our Workampers. And because we have a staff and we at least look at every employer new member to see, okay, this is a business, all these things make sense. If an ad comes in and there's something funny about it, no ads get to you guys until they come through us. So we've caught some spammers and booted them out. And so if they're coming through our system, which costs them money, then they're definitely in the places where it's free to use, no logins, etc. So anyway, stepping off my soapbox now, I just want you guys to be safe, and no, we don't want identity fraud or anything. If you ever have an employer asking you for social security information, credit card information, that kind of stuff, like via email, go ahead and do a hard stop on that. You shouldn't have to fill out like W-4s and things like that until you're on location at the job, okay? Some places may want you to do background checks and some things like that, so you will provide information, more private information, but that should be done through like a secure online form and a very official process for that kind of stuff. Okay, resume. So let's take a quick here, and there is the next question coming up in the PowerPoint is how do I make a resume that stands out? So we're gonna kind of merge these two questions. So here's the Awesome Applicants Resume Builder. You guys, it takes you step by step through creating a resume geared towards Workamping. Resumes for Workamping can be more simple than what you know of as a professional resume. An employer doesn't necessarily need to know your entire, education history, professional history, etc. They really, your resume needs to answer the question, what's in it for me? Because that's what the employer's asking when they're pulling up your resume. You have a few seconds to catch their attention and answer the question, what's in it for me? So you really want to focus on your skills and what you bring to the table. And I know some of you are like, I've never worked camp before. I haven't done this thing. Don't make that a negative like hurdle for you guys. Most employers know you maybe haven't done XYZ job before, or worked at a campground before, or whatever, don't worry about it. There are likely things you've done in your life, in your past jobs, that give you skills that apply to the different positions that are out there. You know, if you were a bank teller, you have money handling experience, customer service experience, you're organized, you can obviously work specific systems, you likely have a comfort factor with computers. So, you know, if you were like, maybe you were a coach of like your kid's soccer team, then you have some leadership skills and you've managed people. You know, like just think about different stuff like that. Did you have a house? And did you do all the painting and minor electrical and landscaping and yard work and all that kind of stuff? Then you have those skills, you know. So don't sell yourself short. Think about your life as a whole so far and what skills and things that you have and can do to make, you know, that employer happy and keep their operation flowing and going. So that's what you want to focus on with your resume, not necessarily outlining, you know, everything you've done before, mostly just what you can do for them. And I see a lot of folks in their resume, and it just bums me out. Well, we've never done this work camping before, so I don't know if we can really, don't, like I said, don't sell yourself short like that. Don't write sentences like that, guys. So you're like, well, what sentences am I supposed to write? Oh, I can help you with that. Okay. All right, so applicant information, obviously you're gonna put in your names. If there's two of you, if there's just one of you, just fill out the one side. You can put an address if you want, type of RV, when they should call you or if they can text you, etc. Availability date, this is the date you are available to start working at. What seasonal preference you have, make a selection there. Settings is different types of businesses that you'd be interested in working for. Salary, benefits, preferred work schedule, so you'll just fill all this fun stuff out. And locations, when you're selecting the states that you're interested in working in, make sure those are the states you are willing to be in starting on your availability date, okay? I see many Workampers come in and, you know, their availability date is December 5th and they have Alaska, Montana, Minnesota checked, and I'm like, now, do you want to take your RV up to Alaska in the middle of winter? I don't. There are some people who would be probably great at that and would be like, heck yeah, I'm going to do that. If that's you, that's awesome. My point is just only check the state locations that you're willing to be in starting on your availability date. Once you find your position and you're all set for that time frame, then go in and change your availability date, change your locations, and get your resume set up for the next period of time that you're going to be available, okay? All right, so state locations, that's an easy one. History, in here you can put past work camping jobs that you've had, or you can put other past jobs that you've had. We just put at the top, create an entry for each previous work camping experience, just because we're trying to keep you guys from listing every single job that you've had since you were 14, and just putting, you know, way too much information in here. Employers, when they're reviewing resumes, they don't necessarily have a lot of time on their hands. Oftentimes there's 1,000 other things they need to be doing. So the more concise you can be, like you want to give them enough information, but you don't want to have so much text that they're like, that's way too much, I'm not even going to read that, and so they don't bother reading it, you know. So try to keep a nice balance, like even this much text that we have in this work history block here, that's almost too much text right there. I would probably try to scale it back for that, at least in the work history. The sell you section, this is a section where you can type in and say whatever you want to say. Like I said, I recommend not just having one big glob of text or big long paragraphs. Let's try to break it up into some easier to consume text here. So we do have a sample on this page up here on the right. There's this view sample button that opens up. You guys are welcome to kind of use this as a template to model off of. And that can be really helpful. So again, we're breaking our stuff up into different sections. We're focusing specifically on skills. When you are looking at laying out your skills, this is a time where you want to also be looking at the job listings that are out there and looking at the different words and terms that the employers are using in their ads. Because an employer, when they go into the resume finder tool, they can keyword search. And when they're keyword searching, it's searching this sell yourself section. So you want to use words that you're seeing in the ads in the sell yourself section as much as possible, whether it have to do with like the names of positions or certain duties. If you have experience with specific campground reservation softwares, I would be sure to include the names of those in the sell you section, for example. So the sell yourself section, you guys can put in whatever you want in there. Again, focusing on the skills and what you can do for the employer. We do have a photo section. Up to you guys if you want to include photos or not, your choice. We recommend, kind of a headshot, a photo of your full RV setup. If you have, an RV and an additional vehicle or multiple vehicles or whatever, try to get, all of that in a photo. If you have pets, you can include a photo of your pet if you want, or maybe, full-length photo of you standing in front of your RV. Here's some good example photos that we took for a Workamper for her resume. Okay, and then a video. If you've created a little, hey, I'm so awesome, here I am introducing myself video, and you have it on your YouTube channel, you can put a link to that video here and it will embed it on your resume for you. So once you go through and fill out all the sections, then we can click on the view resume button, and you're going to see how it's going to compile everything we just entered into our resume and make it look super nice. Look at all that data. Look how cool we are. We've got our resume done. And so once you've done at least the first 4 sections and have it saved, you guys, your resume can be out there working for you in our resume database. Or you can also, there are these buttons on the right here. I'm trying to make them flash. You can print out your resume if you are going to go somewhere in person and you want to take it printed out. You can email your resume to anyone out there. And what's cool, we keep track when you guys email it out. So you'll put in a name, if you the company name, or if you are addressing a specific person, their email address. You can put in a quick little message and send it away. But then it's going to keep track here of who you've emailed your resume to. So that way you could be like, oh, when did I email XYZ place? Oh yeah, it was this date. Okay, it's been a week. It's time to follow up. And that's something too, once you guys do your initial communication with an employer, if you don't hear back, you want to then follow up, especially if it's a job that you feel like is going to be a good match for you. Now, if you are applying for a position that is starting within the next month or immediately, if you don't hear back from that employer within like 1 or 2 business days, I would for sure be following up. If it's a position that's maybe 6 months out, you might give them a little bit of leeway time. Some employers may start accepting resumes and applications in like November or December, but they're not ready to even communicate with those applicants until January. So it can be a little frustrating not hearing back from employers. So that's why we recommend you guys be proactive and follow up with them. Look at what they put in their help wanted ad. If they have ran a help wanted ad, if they've given an email and a phone number, then start with one and then use the other avenue. If all they have in their ad is a website, then I'd feel free to find their email, find the phone number, and use either of those. Sometimes the ad may be specific. If it says, no phone calls in the ad, then don't call them. Maybe you could find them on Facebook and send them a Facebook message, if you've already emailed them. So sometimes you can kind of sneak around to contact them, You don't want to be like annoying about it, and try to be pleasant. Don't be like, you haven't gotten back to me and you better get back to me soon. Just, hey, checking in, very interested in your opportunity and looking forward to speaking with you about it. Let's see, there's two phrases that come to mind. The squeaky wheel gets the grease, and you catch more flies with honey. Yes? Okay. So that's following up. So you've got your resume, you're rocking and rolling. You can also export your resume to PDF if you need to upload it in like an online application process. So we got your bases covered here with the resume builder. Do you have to use the resume builder? No. But if you do use resume builder, your resume is out there in a database available to thousands of employers who are searching and looking for Workampers. So we definitely recommend you guys do that. If you just want to make your own resume on your computer, try to stick around 1 to 2 pages at the most, okay? We also have in our media library and our article index, more videos and articles to help you guys with like the content and the wording of your resume. So dive into those sections when you can. We also have My University courses, this section here. We have multiple courses available, more so for those who are just new to Workamping, but we do have Workamper Marketing 101, which can help with developing kind of your strategy for presenting yourself to employers, okay? So there's some online courses in here for members as well. Okay, and then the situations wanted to add, we'll just touch on this real briefly. This is just another way for you guys to kind of jump up and down in front of employers. If my page will ever load here. So situations wanted, add, submit, it's just 75 words. You guys come in here and say, hey, I'm super awesome, looking for an opportunity starting at this time in this location. I can help your operation by, providing world-class customer service and facilitating all of your systems or whatever, contact me, and you get that submitted. These run for 2 months at a time, so you can do, 6 throughout the year, update or turn them off at any time if you guys want. So just other ways to put yourself out there. And again, if you do want to share about yourself on, other websites that are out there on the internet, just be cautious about doing so, guys. So yeah, these tools are available to our diamond and platinum level members. So we hope you can dig in and enjoy using those tools to assist with that job finding process. So all right, let's get back to our PowerPoint here. And I know we're already at an hour, aren't we? And we're maybe halfway through the questions. I'm sorry, guys, there's just so much to tell you. Okay, hopefully this has been good though. I appreciate you guys sticking with me. So making a resume that stands out, we kind of, I gave you kind of some tips a little bit as we were looking at the resume builder, but just focusing on those skills and really just following up and being a clear communicator is really gonna, take you the furthest in this process. Utilizing those keywords from ads, especially making sure, once you guys get your resume put together, contact a few friends or family members and see if you can send your resume to them and have them look it over. They're gonna find things where it's like, hey, you kind of worded this weird, I didn't quite understand how you said this, or, oh, if you maybe switch these things, it would read better, or I know that you can do blah, blah, blah. Why didn't you mention that in your resume? Or, hey, I found these misspellings. So have a couple people, kind of proof your resume and give their opinion on your resume. That's going to give you some good feedback from some different perspectives. That can really be helpful and useful. Just read over your resume. I think sometimes when I'm looking at folks' resumes, I'm like, I don't know that after they put this in here, they actually looked at what their resume looks like. So if you're using our builder tool, go through the steps and then be sure to click that view resume button so you see what it looks like. A lot of folks duplicate information that's already in one section. They put it in the sell you section. It's like, no, you already said that. You don't have to duplicate it. So don't make it longer than it needs to be, So yeah, like I said, being concise. And another thing that you can do too, so with the platinum level membership that we have, you know, we were looking at that work history section in the resume builder. If you're a platinum member and you've done a work camping job within the last 2 years, you can submit a request to have us verify that experience. So, you know, you'll have that you worked for XYZ employer from this date to this date. You submit the request for us to verify it. We call that employer and say, hey, did John Smith work for you from X date to X date? And they're like, yep, sure did. Then we will mark that work history entry as verified. Now, our employer members, when they're searching the database, they can check a box to only look at resumes that have verified work history. So if you do have work camping experiences, you can list those in the work history, and then we're doing the legwork of the employer. So that's, you know, taking some time that the employer would have had to spend potentially calling those previous jobs to verify that you worked there. We've done that work for them. So that can kind of put a little shining star on the top of your resume that you guys have these verified references on your resume. So that's another way to help it stand out. But definitely peruse the different articles that we have in our article index section, as there's more information there about, you know, wording and verbiage and action words and stuff like that for your resume. Okay, what questions should we ask an employer during the interview? Very good question. And I'm gonna pop back over to my browser. I know you guys are like, oh, with the browser already. But this is where the resources are, and it's easier for me to show you guys. I'm a very visual person, so I'll more likely remember if somebody shows me where something is than just telling me where something is, like where my mouse is. Okay, so we're gonna go over to the article index. And in this, we have multiple different categories, and in the job finding tools category, we have questions to ask an employer and questions to ask an employer number 2. And we also have, the other one is I should have asked. Here it is, low overhead or I should have asked. So those are 3 articles to check out to help you with developing your list of questions that you should ask an employer. Of course, you're gonna want to cover things. Oh, and let me just preface this word because it popped in my mind, and if I don't say it now, I won't remember because I'll think about 20 other things. And I lost it now that I was saying, oh, I remember. Okay, so especially for first-time work campers, you know, you guys might be really excited, like, oh my gosh, I'm interviewing for my first job and this is gonna be so great and I'm really looking forward to this. And then like you forget everything that you're supposed to do, and like you end up talking to the employer about, you know, Dobermans because you have a Doberman and they have a Doberman, and you're like, oh my gosh, we love Dobermans and we talk about dogs the whole time, and it's like, oh crap, I didn't learn anything about the job in that hour conversation we just had. Shoot. So just be careful to not get swept up in the moment. Make sure you have like your questions kind of written out or like in a document on your computer or something, whatever's best for you. So that way you're less likely to forget and, you know, stay focused and stay on track. Also, don't feel like you have to like take the first job that comes to you. If you're like, yeah, it sounds pretty good, but it's not exactly where we want to be, or the compensation isn't quite right, and I don't really want to work those hours. Keep looking, keep looking. You know, be honest with yourself, be honest with the employer, and don't take a job that you're not willing to do or you know you would not be happy doing, okay? And also, disclaimer, you might interview with somebody at the company and that's not the person you're going to work with, and you might go to work and the manager that you have or the coworkers that you have, it's not going to be good, because that's just the nature of people. We don't get along with everybody. There are pickles that are employers and there are pickles that are work campers. It's just the nature of people. So things aren't gonna go great all the time. It's just reality. There are work campers who have accepted a job and then they got there and the employer says, who are you? What are you doing here? Oh, ownership changed in the time between them taking the job and going. Ah, okay, crap, you know, or management changes or who knows what. So stuff is gonna come up, stuff is gonna happen. That's why we put so much emphasis on communication. So Like I said, we're going to ask a lot of questions and get as much information up front as we can. And then especially if you've taken that job that's not going to start for 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, stay in communication with that employer. Check in with them from time to time. That way you are more likely to be alerted if there's any changes that come up. And I say the same things to employers. Check in with your Workampers after you hire them. Stay in touch, send them information, send them cards, say hello. You can easily find excuses to communicate with each other. And so the more communication happens, the less surprises are going to come up. Okay, so all right, as far as questions go, you're going to need to know about the duties, start dates, end dates, schedules. What is the schedule going to be like? Is the schedule going to stay consistent, or is the schedule going to be dependent on business flow? If it's dependent upon business flow, how much is that going to fluctuate? Because you may have, 32 hours this month, and it might drop to 20 hours the next month. That's going to be okay or not okay with you, depending upon your budgetary needs, etc. You're going to ask about your RV site. Will your RV fit? Is it going to be accommodated? Is it completely covered in trees? Well, I have satellite TV. I need to have a view for my satellite. I can't have trees. Is it right next to the bathhouse? What's the surface like? Is it, mushy grass that's going to be totally muddy if it rains? Is it nice concrete? Do I have to maintain my RV site? There's grass around it. Oh, I'm in charge of mowing my own grass around my site? What? That's a thing sometimes. So you're going to ask a lot of questions about your RV site and the accommodations that are being given to you. Ask about getting there. There's a few positions in Michigan. You have to take a ferry to get to those jobs. Some RVs don't fit on that ferry to get to the job. So again, research, okay? You're going to ask about kind of the general structure of things. So is there a manager, assistant manager, and then Workampers, or kind of what's the general structure? Is everybody a team? So there's, 10 Workampers and everybody just does what needs done, or is it specific roles that you are going to be in? And, will I have to potentially do housekeeping sometimes, or I never have to do housekeeping? Good, some will want you to step in sometimes if somebody's sick or gone or whatever. Is that going to be the case? Ask about days off or time off. Are you going to have multiple days off in a row? If you are going as a 2-person team, family, whatever, will you guys have the same days off so you can go off and do things together? If you need to leave during your time, somebody's having a wedding or you need to go do a doctor appointment or something, can I be gone for a week or 2 weeks or whatever? If I am gone for a week or 2 weeks or even a month or something, am I going to have to pay for my RV site then while I'm gone because I'm not working? Again, just kind of these little things that I don't think of and kind of until you're in the moment. So other people have had those experiences and compiled these questions for you, so it's good to think of. Lots of questions to ask. Compensation, when is it going to be provided? How is it going to be provided? And then we'll talk more about the taxation and a couple other questions and kind of get into some more details on that. So you just kind of gotta run the basis, guys. Don't be afraid to ask to, if you're doing the interview with somebody, but that's not going to be your manager or supervisor that you would communicate with. Be like, hey, would it be okay? Would you give my contact information to whoever the manager is? I would love to have a conversation with them at some point just to introduce ourselves and see if we're a good match together. So you can kind of have that communication, because sometimes you guys are going to be driving hundreds of miles to these jobs. So whatever information and communication can be done ahead of time, the better, okay? So dig into these questions here. Ask about weather, ask about what's in the local area. There's really a lot of things that could be covered in that interview process, guys. All right, we do have a video about it as well in the media library. So check that out. Okay, back to the slideshow. Next up is what should be included in a work agreement. And a work agreement is something You can ask for or not, totally up to you. It's not a contract. It's probably not going to be like legally binding if you wanted to try and go to court or whatever. It's really just a communication tool, you guys. So we do have a sample available on our website, and there is a video in the media library where I talk easily an hour or more about what should be in a work agreement, how to ask for one, etc. So check out that video for more details. But it really just kind of outlines expectations. So after you go through the interview process, you know, both sides of the fence are feeling like this is going to be a good thing. So let's get laid out, you know, the deets, start dates, end dates, compensation, expected schedule, expected duties. You sign it, they sign it. That way, then, you know, you're in the middle of the season, things are flowing and going, but oh, something's starting to change. They're asking you to do work that you didn't agree to, or they've changed your schedule in a way that is not good for you. Then you go to management with your work agreement and you're like, hey, we need to talk about this, and you know, set up a meeting to do so. And you say, look, this is what was laid out ahead of time and what we agreed to. This is what is happening that's different from that. What can be done to get us closer back to what that original work agreement was? And then hopefully they're willing to work on that, set a deadline. We need things to be changed by this deadline, or, you know, we're going to be moving on. You know, and do that in a non, you know, ultimatum threatening way. Just, you know, you should be and can be flexible to a certain extent. Obviously, there are going to be situations that come up if, you know, you feel you are in danger, or for any reason, like mentally or physically in danger, get out of Dodge, you know. Or if things just, you try to compromise and get things back to a place that you're comfortable with, but the employer's just not fulfilling that, you know, you tried, move on. You know, your house has wheels. I don't recommend you guys just up and leave in the middle of the night. That's a pretty lame move to do. So hopefully you're at least taking some steps ahead of time to try to come, you know, to a compromise, potentially to at least get you through the season. If you can fulfill your agreement, you know, that's always going to be the best. But again, know yourself, know the situation, assess it for yourself, go with your gut, etc. So yeah, so a work agreement communication tool helps you stay on the same page, start on the same page, stay on the same page, etc. The employer may have one already written up, or will write one up for you. You may want to take the initiative to write it up, send it to them and say, hey, this is what I believe we're agreeing to. Are you on board? Have them sign it, etc. It's going to depend on the employer. Okay. Tax implications of a work camping job. Please understand, I am not an accountant. This is going to be best asked to your personal accountant, because everybody's financial whatever situation is different. So with work camping jobs, and this is also some stuff to put in your interview questions, guys. If the employer is saying, I need you to come to work this time to this time, I want you to wear this, I want you to do these specific duties, that is an employee relationship. You should be treated as an employee at that point. If the employer is, the situation is like, the end result is that I need this building built or these sites put together on my property, and I need you to get it done in 2 months, and I'll pay you X number of dollars for it, go to it. You're deciding your schedule, you're deciding how it's done, you're using your tools, etc. to get the job done. That's more of an independent contractor situation, okay? So in that instance, with independent contractor, you'd receive a 1099 for the compensation. If you are treated as an employee, you would receive a W-2 for any reported compensation. So then the question is, well, what is considered compensation? Because a lot of these work camping jobs and RV site or non-monetary perks are part of the compensation. So it's going to depend if those non-monetary perks are considered compensation or considered income or not. So that is a question that you need to be asking each employer that you're applying with. So there is a federal IRS ruling that says, and we have it on our website in our FAQ section if you guys want the exact ruling and the wording, etc. But if it is a contingency of your employment to accept the RV site or housing, and it's of benefit to the employer, then the value of that RV site is not considered income. Now that's a federal IRS regulation. States will have different regulations regarding a barter setup. So it can vary by state as well. And it can vary by employer because some employers are unwilling to talk to an accountant and understand how they should be treating, is it an employee situation, an independent contractor, understanding the difference between the two and doing the right one based on the situation. Some just, they don't know what they don't know, and some are doing it one way or the other because they're trying to take advantage of a situation. And then there are most which have an accountant, and the accountant's like, hey, you need to do this way, and blah, 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 blah. So, fun, right? Yes. There is, again, homework and due diligence and stuff like that. So you want to be sure to ask if that RV site is going to be considered income to you or not. It might be, it might not be. It might be state-wise, but not federal-wise. And so then the question becomes, okay, so if I have income reported to me, my home state or my domicile state is Iowa, but I work in California, do I have to file a tax return in California? It's likely you will if you have income reported. Oftentimes, though, when you do a non-resident tax return in that state, with deductions and whatever else, oftentimes you don't end up paying a lot of tax to that other state. And also, there's a lot of, especially full-time RVers, they domicile in states that have no state income tax. So then their income, at least for their domicile state, isn't taxed. So there's some ways to do it that help you save on taxes. So I would totally recommend connecting with an accountant because they're going to be able to look at each individual situation and best direct you in that regard, okay? But that kind of gets you started in the process there, all right? Okay. Are there work camping jobs in Canada? Probably. Unfortunately, there's no resource that I'm aware of specifically for that anymore. We used to have a whole section of our website about work camping in Canada, but then the powers that be in Canada started putting pressure on the businesses to only hire locals. And if the business was found, anyway, the business owners could be fined if they didn't hire locals, but they could have hired locals, but they hired, non-residents instead, they could be fined and stuff. So that really kind of deflated the balloon on work camping in Canada for non-residents of Canada. If you are a Canadian wanting to find work camping jobs in Canada, they likely exist, and it's probably going to be easier for you. It's going to be probably more of a cold calling situation. I've Googled around and I really haven't found any specific websites or anything. I think there's a Facebook group out there for like Canada work camping, but that's really pretty much it. I think we've had, I don't know, maybe 2 ads for Canada in the last year or so. Unfortunately, it's really dwindled. Can Canadians come to the US and work? Yes, there are certainly programs for that. It's more so going to be easiest with volunteering. So, volunteering with like in federal parks, maybe with like the National Park Service, they have a VIP volunteer in parks program, Habitat for Humanity, those kinds of situations. We have some more resources for that in the FAQ page on our website. If you are a U.S. citizen wanting to go work camp in Canada, like I said, it's going to be more challenging, and it's difficult to find those kinds of opportunities. I recommend just going to visit Canada and then just go up to Alaska. It's real pretty up there, real nice. And visiting Canada in between, Canada is gorgeous as well. So maybe just go work in Alaska and enjoy Canada on the way up and the way down. If they'll let you. I don't know. COVID regulations still might be pretty hardcore there. I'm not sure. All right, home stretch, guys. As an RVer, how do I handle my mail? A couple different options for you to go with. Some folks will just have family members take care of it. So they might use the family member's address, or maybe they'll get a PO box where their family member resides and have their family member deal with it. But then you're putting that task on your family member, which might be totally fine. It might be kind of a pain, but that's an option. Another option is to utilize a mail forwarding service. There are certainly a lot of them now, and they're even more advanced where stuff gets scanned now. And so you log into your account with the mail forwarding service and look at the scans of your mail and say, you know, keep that, trash that, trash that, trash that. And then when you want, they'll bundle it up in a package and mail it to wherever your current location is. And so you can have that done once a week, once a month. You know, the timing it can be dependent upon you for most of the services. So oftentimes, full-time RVers will find a mail forwarding service in the state they want to domicile in. Popular ones are South Dakota, Texas, and Florida due to the no income tax in those states. And especially the ones in South Dakota, like Your Best Address, and there's one other. On our website, you guys, there's a connect menu item. And if you mouse over that, it drops down a menu and there's recommended resources. So check out the recommended resources. We have a whole section with some mail forwarding services listed in there. But I know for sure Your Best Address, America's Mailbox, they're in South Dakota. They even help you with like getting set up as a resident there. They help you with getting registered to vote, help you with getting your like registration tags and stuff for your vehicles. You know, those kinds of things to help you establish residency in that state. And the same goes for, you know, Florida and some of the Texas organizations. They'll help you out with that. And there are a few in some other states as well, or a few that, like I think travelingmailbox.com, I think you can kind of decide which state you want your mailbox to be in. So there's multiple services that are out there that I definitely recommend. You know, if the service is taking care of it for you, obviously there's going to be a fee or whatever involved. So it may not be affordable for some. It's just going to depend on your budget. But, you know, then it's a service handling it. And if, you know, they're not getting your mail to you on time, it's easier to be frustrated with a service than it is your family member, you know. So that's just a couple of thoughts on that. But just check out mail forwarding services. There may even be in your, you know, your hometown, if you're just gonna, you know, be part-time RVing, you're gonna keep your home and your address and stuff. There might be a mailbox place in town that has, you know, individual mailboxes, and you just call them up every once in a while and be like, hey, Sally, can you send me my mail? And she says, sure, Joe. And she pulls the mail out and sends it to you, you know, just to be nice. So they're kind of a mail forwarding service, but they're not advertising themselves as a mail forwarding service. So anyway, that's what my husband and I did for many years. It was great. Her name wasn't Sally though, but that's okay. So yeah, hopefully that helps. It's easy to kind of not have a lot of mail anymore too, you know, just get all your bills to be, you know, emailed or done online. And so oftentimes there's really not a lot of physical mail anymore for people. All right. Those were all the questions submitted ahead of time, guys. Yay, we did it. I only talked for forever. Not surprising, but as you can see, we have a lot of knowledge to share. Really appreciate you, those of you who are online live with us. I see that you're still hanging in there. Appreciate that. No new questions were submitted during our time, and that's cool. If you guys do have any questions, feel free to reach out to us here at workamper.com. You can call us or email us. We're happy to, you know, answer your questions as best we can. We really hope you guys will consider becoming members. We really are the one-stop shop for helping you guys make this work camping thing a reality, and just take it to the next level. If you already are a work camper, maybe you feel like you're not finding enough jobs or the right jobs, please come on board and get connected and start utilizing our tools. If you do utilize those tools, it's really just gonna, you know, help things flow and go better for you. We do have a special promo code offer. If you do join with a yearly membership with us, enter code webinar4. We'll give you guys 4 bonus months on that yearly membership, okay? Just to help you save a little bit there. So we hope you'll check us out, workamper.com. Again, happy to answer your questions. We're very passionate about this lifestyle and helping you guys succeed. So thanks so much. We really appreciate you all, and wish you happy work camping.